Hey everyone, today we are getting ready for a bridal shower here at our house, and it's a mess here in our kitchen, but I just finished making this fruit board that I wanted to show you. So it's covered in fruit, and it has some basil, and then it has some burrata on top. And this is going to be a side dish for the bridal shower to go along with a bunch of salad and some salmon. So today I'm just going to show you really quickly how I made this board.
So to start with this board, I have gone ahead and cut up all the fruit. So I have cantaloupe, which I have sliced into slices and then divided those in half. I have oranges that I've just made slices of. I have basil. I've just got the ends of them. We have plums are really ripe right now. So I have plums, I have apples, I have peaches, and I've just cut these all up into slices so they're really easy to put on. I have cherries, which are also in season, and raspberries right from our own farm. So everything's on the board is fresh fruit except for this burrata, which I went ahead and put on at the end. And then I also have some edible flowers just for garnish, which you can have or you can skip. So once it's all cut up, I'm going to go ahead and just show you how I assembled this board. So I started with a pretty medium-sized board. This tends to need a lot more space than other boards. And I'm just going to go ahead and start laying it out fruit by fruit. So I'll start with the cantaloupe here. And when I put it on the board, I just try to turn it so that the different rows are going different directions. And this just has a nice added kind of effect when the board's all done. So I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of this cantaloupe on. And I'm really trying to spread this out. This is going to kind of form the framework of the rest of the board. All right, so once I have that on, the next one I put on is I started to add some of the red ingredients. So I started with some of the apples. You could start with peaches if you don't have peaches in the summertime, you can just use apples. I did use two different types of apples for this just to kind of add to the color and interest. And so when you're putting all of these on, again, you're going to try to keep it so that the rows of each of the slices are just going in different directions. This just makes it really fun and pretty. And if you turn the things on the edges, the pieces of fruit on their edges, you're going to get a little bit more color. So I've got both the white and the red will show through here. Usually when I'm making a board, I recommend dividing up the colors. Because this board is mostly just these oranges and reds, you do want to think about dividing up the colors and breaking up the different shapes, but it's going to be a little bit more subtle than some of the other boards, and especially because it's all fruit for the most part on the board itself. There are other things you could use. You could use watermelon on this. You could use honeydew melon. So there are other alternatives depending on what fruit you have in season. And then when you go ahead to add, you can see here I started to add these oranges in big slices, and I realized that they really were sitting too tall, so I went ahead and cut these in half. So you can see when I put the oranges on and cut them in half, they really do fit better with this board. Ideally, I would have had smaller oranges just so that I could have kept the slices as whole oranges, and that just adds kind of a different shape and design to the whole board. So you do either of those, our options work pretty well. So I've filled most of the board, and I'm going to go ahead and start putting on the cherries. And the cherries are great because they're little, and you're going to be kind of using them to fill in the holes or the gaps on your board. And this just really gives that full feeling of like the board is just like covered and exploding in fruit. And so use those cherries. I am using Rainier cherries here, but you can use any type of cherry. And then because raspberries are completely in season right now, it is the end of July, I wanted to just cover the top of my board in fresh raspberries that I picked just a couple minutes ago. So they're super fresh and are ready to go. And now that you have all the color, you can go in and put on some type of garnish. And so for this one, I decided to use basil because I'm going to be using burrata. You could also use mint or other herbs just to add those pops of color. The basil here is really pretty too. And so I just use the tips of the basil stems so that the leaves are really pretty with a few extra leaves put in here around the edges. We have been eating so much burrata this summer. And so putting the burrata here on top of this is just such a fun way to just make this kind of board feel a little bit more like a complete board. So it's not just a fruit board, it's got the burrata on top. You could also do some sort of fruit dip in a bowl on the board if you'd like. But I just think this is so pretty. And it does add a little bit of substance. Burrata does pair well with most of the fruit on the board, so it's just a really fun way to eat and kind of expand a typical fruit board. And the last thing I put on is just some edible flowers, just as kind of a final finishing touch. This is completely up to you. It is pretty important that you take a look and make sure that the flowers you're putting on are edible. Not that people are going to eat them, but you don't want to put poisonous flowers on your charcuterie board. So I do have a good list on my website if you want to go check it out. You can also just search online and make sure that you're putting something edible on there. Again, this is optional. I think the board looks pretty without it, so that's totally up to you. And here is the finished board. Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. And everybody at the shower where I served this absolutely loved it. It was perfect.
All right, thanks for watching. Have fun, and I hope you enjoy the board.